Hey guys, today we are not in the room. We are in a room. We're not in the room that we typically are in. I am at AIT for the National Guard, so we are in a completely different room. I am going to be recording this under some, bad or not great conditions. I don't have my tripod and my camera stand, so it's going to be really weird actually videoing this, showing off some of the details of this toy, and it probably is a little bit more echoey in this room, but I have the opportunity to review this toy here at AIT. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it. So this is the Takara T-Spark King Exkaiser. I was really surprised when this came out, like a year ago. I was really surprised it was a Takara product because, Takara doesn't they made the masterpiece version of King Exkaiser, but then they sold the trademark and basically the rights to the Brave series to Bandai. So I was really surprised that they made this toy, but I love this toy. It's phenomenal. I was on the fence about this toy. Exkaiser does not fit inside of King Exkaiser or the King Loader the same way that the original toy and the masterpiece does, so that kind of put me off, like, whatever. And this toy is fairly expensive. It's about $250. I bought mine on eBay right before I went to basic training. So that was about May, or very early May. I bought this guy for $200. I'm very happy with him. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So here is Exkaiser. I love the car. The car is really nice. It would have been nice to have the logo or his insignia right there, but it's okay. The masterpiece has it right there, but it also shows in the vehicle mode, the robot mode. It covers the shins because, as you can see, there's his feet, and these will become the shins and the lower legs. But yeah, I really like the car mode. Love the wheels. Just love the color of it. These colors are a bit more subdued and subtle. Like the red is a bit more of a maroon, and the blue is a bit darker. So it definitely has more subdued colors than the masterpiece and the original toy and to the animation model. But overall, I still really like the colors. And obviously you can see how he's going to kind of work. He works nearly identical to the previous versions, the original Exkaiser and the masterpiece. I don't own the masterpiece, but it works nearly the exact same as those two toys. So we'll just put Exkaiser himself off to the side, and we'll take a look at the King Loader. And the King Loader is just the same brick of nothing that it typically is. I don't know why I get this gap right here. It is supposed to close up, but I just can't. I've only transformed this thing, the King Loader, into the King Loader only maybe 5 times, because really, just like, of course, I don't own the masterpiece, but just like the original toy, the King Loader really only serves as just a nothing alternate mode, like a lot of the modes, like the V-Star for Star Saber, Victory Leo's spaceship mode. Some of those modes that a lot of the G1 Japanese toys had. This is kind of what the King Loader is, like God Bomber. Like, what's God Bomber supposed to be? That's basically what the King Loader is. But what it is and what it's supposed to do, it being a guy laying down, it does fairly well. And this King Loader follows the rules of the original masterpiece, that you don't have to put Exkaiser inside of him to form King Exkaiser like the original toy. This one cannot be towed behind Exkaiser, which I never really used that on the original toy, and I bet probably not very many did that for the masterpiece as well, so I really don't care that it's not here. This can turn into a base mode and has some sort of flight mode, but I really don't care about them. Like, I might try it someday, but for this video, I really can't care less. It's just not that big a deal for me. But yeah, both these vehicles look really nice. I really like them. Especially Exkaiser, just the beautiful look of the car. Obviously, you have those spots where the knees are going to go, but I really don't care about that. And then the King Loader, like I said, there's just nothing to it. Like, it's just what it is. What you see is what you get. It literally is what it is. So it doesn't offend me any. So there's nothing really too much to it. So we'll take a look at Exkaiser first, and then we'll get into the King Loader. So we'll just put this off the side, and we will look at Exkaiser. And Exkaiser will be a super quick transformation. We just take these pieces and fold them out like so. And then I kind of like to wiggle the legs just to get this tabbed unto itself, and then you bring the legs out. And I will talk about these joints here in a minute when we get to the King Loader. But just split the legs, bring these little white pieces back, flip the feet down like so. And then you will bring this back, fold this up, bring that down, split the arms. And he is really dusty, and he's got some scratches on him, like the nose there, and then the nose on Exkaiser's face, because I've been carrying him around in my pocket for my entire time that I've been here at AIT, which has been about 2 months. But you just take the arms, rotate them down, bring them down, and then you just fold out the arms like so. And then you just do the same thing on the other side, obviously, like so. And then you take the face and you bring it up, you bring that out, and then you shift that down, and then just get the head all adjusted. Unlike the masterpiece, he does in the original, he does not have the like chevron, the blue chevron chest. It is just the lion chest, which I don't really care. It's just not that big a deal to me. I like the lion face. It looks really cool. So it's plenty fine. But he looks phenomenal. His face is beautiful. Love the gold that they used on it. Love the piercing green for the eyes. But yeah, really, really like the colors. Love the little bits of the bit of yellow right there. The black, just Exkaiser himself, just this toy, this design alone is already beautiful, and the fact that they leaned a lot heavier into the animation model looks just phenomenal. Obviously, you get these little bits on the back, and you get this. The only thing, and that's okay, I don't gripe too much about backpacks unless they put just a bunch of trash on the back, which this isn't too bad. Really, the only thing that I want this to do, this piece, the windshield, the back windshield, is just to sit like that, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to sit complete 90. I just wish it sat more like that. You can see that the hinge comes off, and it's just a friction hinge. But I wish that was just slightly different, so it didn't leave this gap, and it just looked a bit more flush. That's just a personal thing. But yeah, I really like this guy. It would have been awesome if they just sold him by himself. It's just a really fun toy, and I've had a lot of fun posing him. His head is on a ball joint, and then you get that hinge. He can't really look up, but he can look down, which I really like. His arms obviously can do a full 360. They can go out on this transformation joint, and then they can go out at the actual shoulder. You have a bicep swivel, and then you have an elbow, and then you can use that other transformation joint to get more than 90. That it's more like ratchet. It's not ratcheted, but it has like detents in it, so you can't get it. It's okay. I think I said bicep swivel, but bicep swivel again. You get a wrist swivel. And before I go through the rest of the articulation, I will touch on this really quick. The arm is on a peg, a 3mm peg, and I don't know why. And then the wrist is on a 5mm peg, which could be really cool. You could put some blast effects in there, like he's shooting something. But yeah, and then the wrists, the fists themselves are on 3mm peg and holes. I don't know why. Also, And Exkaiser never had a handheld weapon, so he just has probably like standard like 3mm hands. But I really don't care because mine are still stiff and solid. But nevertheless, those could degrade over time, but it's not that big a deal. He has a waist swivel. His legs can kick up, and they can kick really far back. He has a thigh swivel. And now let's talk about this. I'm not going to transform him to fit inside of the Exkaiser in the King Loader because it's not really necessary. But these transformation joints, they hinge. Actually, I will do that to show you. But these hinge back, which I will show off later. But these were fairly tight. They would always open up like a tiny bit like that when I would bend the knee. But after transforming him into his configuration to go inside of the King Loader, they have since degraded a great deal when I transform him, when I move the knees, when I do anything with the knees or bending the hips back, which is quite, I I personally think a little frustrating. And the knees, because they're transmission joints, they can go basically as deep as they want to, as deep as you would ever need them to go. I wish they had some more solid tabs or something, just more friction, or maybe they should have been a screw joint, similar to a lot of the joints on this guy are screws. Well, that one's not, but a lot of the joints on this guy and the King Loader are screws, so maybe that should have been a screwed in joint. So if you want it to be tighter over time, you could have, but that is a little frustrating that those joints degraded after really the only time that I ever transformed him into that configuration. After this video, I will never transform him into the configuration to go inside of the King Loader. Number one, because he didn't need to, and I don't want those joints to get any worse. But the feet, you can utilize that transformation joint to go forward and back. Just due to the way everything's sculpted, you get a little bit of tilt, but not a lot. And then it is on a ball joint, so it can swivel and do all sorts of fun stuff. And then you have this ankle spur that can do things as well. But I have had a lot of fun with just Exkaiser himself. He's really dynamic, obviously just such a dynamic robot design. Love the look of him. And the articulation fits him. Really the only thing you could ask for is maybe a slightly deeper foot joint or a butterfly, but really that's about it, because really everything is here and all the joints are really solid. Even these joints that are just pegged in joints are still really stiff and solid, and I really like them. It's just those thigh joints for the transformation. So if you get this guy brand new, which I got mine brand new, if you get this guy brand new, you don't have to transform him into the configuration to fit him inside of the King Loader, which obviously, as I said, I'll show off. I would recommend just not doing it, because you could have Exkaiser posing by himself and then the King Exkaiser posing by himself and not wreck these joints. That's the only thing that I would somewhat complain about, because other than that, the transformation is super addicting. It's super fun, super, there's just enough going on that it keeps it interesting. So we will, I'll put him off the side and we'll bring in the King Loader to turn into King Exkaiser. So we'll put him off the side, bring him in, and like I said, I'm not going to do the base mode or the flight mode. They're kind of dumb, so I'm not going to do them. The sword can store under here. It is just, it's just these two slots and those two tabs. I don't know what this port is for, but it's probably for something. But obviously we'll put the sword off the side. And now for this, we will start with the arms. You will hinge these back in like so, and then they will slot and tab together. And these are very tight, it's a very tight connection. And then we'll take the fist and then just rock it out and then spin it out like so. And then we'll just straighten the arm out like so, rotate it like that. And just do the same thing over here, straighten the arm out, collapse this back together, and then bring the fist out like so. And now the arms are all done. And we'll just focus on the rest of the mode, but we'll just adjust the camera a little bit, flip them upside down since I'm working with some limited space. And so we'll flip this up and then we'll bring this down. I'm gonna turn this around, because when we collapse this back in on itself, we won't have room to spin that around. So you'll take these big assemblies that the shoulders are on, and they're on this like weird angled double hinge that swings it out like so. And then since we're over here, we'll take these little spots and just pull them out and bring them down. Same thing over here. We will rock this out and then bring out this piece like so. And now the arms are all done. And now for the head, all we need to do is just bring this whole panel back and then hinge up the head like so. It's kind of on a double hinge, so make it to where the head like sits naturally, kind of like that. And while we're here, we'll just push out the lion face like so. You are supposed to do it when you transform him, but I just push it out like manually. So adjust the camera a little bit more. And now we have there are these little slots that will go, I think, on these tabs, these little tabs right there. And these, it's not really precarious going into robot mode, but it is definitely precarious coming out of robot mode because you're trying to pull it apart and to bring this all forward, and sometimes one will come undone and the other one will not. So it's a good thing those hinges work so well that it doesn't harm them, like harm the plastic or the joints or anything. But if you get this guy, just be careful, watch out for those joints and when you are undoing those tabs and everything. So I'll just quick zoom the camera out. So now we're going to be working on the legs. We'll just bring the toes forward like so. We will, let's get this out of the way, untab the wings, and they will just swing out and then hinge up like so. Swing out and up like that. We'll just go ahead and split the legs like so, and then we'll bring these out, bring those in, and close those back up like so. And now you could leave them like this if you want to be all stumpy and everything. Oh, almost forgot. Bring out these pieces for his heel spurs. But to get him taller, unless you want him to be this short, but I wouldn't. Unless you want to emulate the original toy with his kind of weirdo stocky proportions, you could, but I personally won't. I personally have got to have him at his full proportions. So just bring that out, and then you just hinge the leg up like so, and then you just simply close it back up. Typical transformation joint of like Combiner Wars and everything, and even just a good standard modern joint that is used. So now everything is good. I'm just gonna situate him while I'm up here. Make him look right. So now it is time for Exkaiser. So Exkaiser, we're just going to transform him back into his car mode, like so. Just quickly do it. And like I said, you don't have to do anything because he's going to go into this big cavity right here. All you need to do is just close that up and no one will know that Exkaiser is there. But you just transform him back into car mode again, like we are doing, like so. Take those together, and now this piece will fold back on itself like so, and then this is where these you'll leave like that, and you'll utilize those joints right there, and you can somewhat, I don't know if you can see them. I don't know. The camera doesn't want to focus. But there are two little, like lumps or detents, kind of. Not lumps, but like detents that keep it, like give it its friction. And those just like wear down. See if it'll do it. You can kind of see those detents where it's red, where the plastic is just worn away, because the plastic's not stiff enough, or just, I really don't know. But there are these cutouts, these molded in sort of cutout things that will go over this. And now the white pieces right here will go over and peg into that. So, and push those forward, and the skirt has to go forward. So this is how he's supposed to look, and then you just turn Exkaiser around, and there's no real like way to do this. You just kind of just like jam him in like that, and then you bring down that, and then you bring this up to fully secure it with a tab slot connection like that, and then you bring in the sword. And yeah, this is an awesome toy. I really like him. Like I said, I apologize, guys, for the inconvenience of filming. just everything. He's a really big toy. I think he measures in about 10, 11 inches. And then the fact that I don't have the equipment that I typically have, so I apologize. But he looks awesome. I was on the fence. I thought the face of the lion and the King Exkaiser was off, but I think that's just the typical trashy Takara Hasbro photo images. I mean, photography, we all know that Takara and Hasbro are not very good at it. Because in person, he looks amazing. He looks like he does in the show. He looks super animation accurate, but not, completely to where he looks like, the mane on the line definitely is not animation accurate, but I really don't care. It takes some liberties with the design, and that's always good to take some liberties, not to always just go completely by the book, and I really like that. Before we get into his articulation and everything, these pieces on the sides, they're like blasters or whatever for the base mode and the flight mode, but I don't really care. Like I said, I don't care about those modes, so it just sits there. If you were wondering why those hinges are there, but this guy is packed to the brim with articulation. So let's just get right into it. So the head is still kind of basic, just a basic ball joint. You can use that hinge joint, but because it has more of like a detank sort of thing in it, you really can't utilize it. The wings obviously can flap a little bit and can rotate. They'll have to get out of the way for when they make Dragon Kaiser, which I think Takara is definitely working on. I think the arms have a butterfly joint that can move really far forward. Obviously, it has a full 360, can go out and then out again. He has a bicep swivel. He has a double jointed elbow. You could utilize this swivel in here by disconnecting the arm, but like I said, the pegs, or the tabs, I should say, are just really stiff. But you could utilize that hinge and that swivel if needed. You can rock the hand down, and you can utilize this double joint, and then you have a wrist swivel, which is super creaky. And once again, same thing as Exkaiser, he has these weirdo peg-in hands. These ones are 5mm, so you could utilize weaponizer components if you wanted to, to give him a gun arm or something, or so creaky. Or if you wanted him to have some blast effects, or if you had the ability to 3D print them, 3D print the spike cutter and the different accessories and moves that he utilizes in the show that can go on his arm, if you have the skills or the ability. He has a waist swivel. It's not ratcheted. It would have been really nice if it was ratcheted. He has a ab crunch, which is nice and tight, so he can hold his poses. And he's not a super heavy toy. He's very dense. He's made a dense, nice plastic, the typical generation toys are nowadays. So he can hold all of his poses because a lot of these joints are friction. And that I do really like that. He can hold all of his poses. The legs ratchet forward, they ratchet back. Can't go super far back because of the skirt back here. Just a basic friction joint for the out. Thigh swivel. He has a double jointed knee. The bottom one is friction, the top one is a ratchet, which is really nice. He has ankle tilt. You could use the toe for some articulation. You can kick the heel spur back or forward if need be. And then this transformation joint at the foot entirely can hinge. So he really has a lot of articulation that can be used. And especially with the big sword that he comes with, being Exkaiser, King Exkaiser, I should say. Being King Exkaiser, he just is a lot of fun. Just a super fun toy. Looks incredible. I love the size of him. Like I mentioned, he loved the density of the toy. Just reiterates that the plastic nowadays for the modern generation toys is still phenomenal. It's no Cybertron or potentially G1 levels of plastic quality, but were nothing compared to like Combiner Wars or some like Transformer Prime toys. It's still very, very awesome. Oh, and the lion mouth can move up and down and articulate. It still does have some things I want to show off, but overall, he's a phenomenal, phenomenal toy. Just looks incredible. I've put this guy in a lot of poses. Obviously, like I said, both him, King Exkaiser and Exkaiser, and they're both very photogenic. Like I said, they're both amazing robot designs. This guy, I do like that he still does a bit more. Like, one of the biggest things that hurt me with the original Exkaiser was that I don't really care that he turns into nothing, as long as there's some process to get there. When the original toy, there is no process really. It's just fold out the wings and fold out the arms. But this guy, he still has a little bit more going on, like with the legs and just the way the arms work and the really cool way that they made the chest work. So he still does turn into absolutely nothing, but nevertheless, I still like him because he at least has a process getting there, kind of like the original J. Decker, is that J. Decker also turns into nothing. He's a bit more of a convincing nothing than King Exkaiser or the King Loader, but there's more of a process getting to J. Decker than the original King Exkaiser. That's why I like J. Decker so much. And same thing applies here, is that because there's a lot more going on with his articulation on both modes, on both toys, and then there's a bit more of a process to transform them, he's a bit nicer of a toy. But my one crux with this is that he retails for about $250, which I think I said at the top of the video, and that is awfully high, especially if the joints on Exkaiser with the to get him inside of King Exkaiser, if those didn't degrade after the first or second time of transforming him, I wouldn't be so, put off by the $250 price tag, because this is a premium toy. He has a lot of paint, a lot of nice details. But just like King Exkaiser's wrist and the wrist and sort of cuff, I guess, and then the elbow of Exkaiser being pegs and not actual joints, they could degrade over time as well. Just the longevity of certain joints on this toy for that price is a little iffy. I still don't feel bad about getting this toy, especially with the price that I got him at for $200. I would really recommend, if you could get him on sale or hunt around for one for $200, awesome, get one for $200. But overall, he still is worth his price tag. But if you're not into this design or have no affinity for the Brave series, like me personally, I have an affinity for him because he's an awesome toy, because he's an awesome character, and from an awesome show. And, he's an awesome Transformer toy. I'm going to say he's a Transformer toy because he basically is. So overall, it's just kind of hard to talk about this guy for how expensive he is. But overall, I still really, really like him. But there's one more gimmick I need to show off, and if you don't know, in the show, the cartoon, or anime, I should say, not a cartoon, an anime, King Exkaiser does reveal his face from the King Exkaiser head. It's not just this mouthplate version, and to reveal that is you just take the head crest and you bring it up, and as you just saw, it fell off. And all this is just separating sort of like brow and then the mouth plate itself. So then you just bring this down, bring that back down, and I'll have to go aerial for this one. I can't bring the camera in normally. And he just has his regular handsome mouth face. But I like both faces. I thought that this face would be a little bit more washed out, kind of. But no, that's one thing that I absolutely love about this toy, is that the face sculpts, just like the head sculpts, just like all the Transformers that Takara and Hasbro have been doing, the head sculpts are ultimately the best part because they just look phenomenal. They're super crisp. They're not washed out any. He's just a really phenomenal, awesome toy. He just loves to be posed. Super photogenic. Just loves to be in a pose. You know, literally, like, I just moved like 5 joints, and he looks super awesome and cool. But yeah, I've said this entire video, I love this toy. It's just so awesome. I think I probably won't get one now because I have a lot of good things on the list for this year. Even though I've been doing this whole Army, National Guard, basic training, AIT thing since May, I still have been able to get my hands on some amazing toys and figures and things. So more than likely, I don't plan on adding any more to the collection for the rest of the year because it's already September as I am filming this. Of course, that could change, but at some point in time, either sometime this year or beginning of next year, I want to get my hands on a masterpiece King Exkaiser so I can compare him to this guy and to my original G1 version of Exkaiser. But overall, I would really recommend this guy. If you're not interested in this design or have any affinity for the Transformers or transforming or the Brave series, it's an easy pass, you know, especially for the price tag. But if you have any affinity for just awesome robots, the Transformers, or Exkaiser, the King Exkaiser, or the Brave series itself, I would really recommend him because he's super solid. It's just like if you took, you know, like the original toy, or I should more say the original masterpiece toy, and just filtered him through a modern generation's lens. Just a lot more solid, a lot better plastic, I would assume. I don't know, because obviously I said I don't own it. But really amazing plastic, looks the part, you know, just very nice and awesome. Would really recommend that. I think I got a comment on my Jay Decker video. I don't know who commented it or how long ago. I apologize, but really they commented on the Jay Decker video, and they said that they would love to see Takara do a T-Spark version of this, of Jay Decker, sorry, bunch of names. If they wanted to see T-Spark, which this toy comes from, and along with like the IDW Rodimus, I think he's from the same line, like the T-Spark line. See T-Spark do Jay Decker, or Sylv Chigokin do Jay Decker. I would really like to see Takara do Jay Decker and the Brave toys rather than Bandai. I'm not the biggest fan of like their SMP, like the model kit line. I don't think their priorities are completely straight with all those, and plus they're very expensive also. So I would really like to see T-Spark continue on with making Brave toys, and they are making a Gen 6 Galgai Gar. It is awfully expensive for how big it is. I think it's like 7 inches, and it's still like $250. I'll think about that. It's up for pre-order, or at least the couple weeks ago that I looked, it was up for pre-order. So I might get it because Gen 6 Galgai Gar is also an amazing design. But if T-Spark makes Jay Decker, I will definitely buy it. If they make a Goldoran, I'll probably more than likely buy it. If they make a Power Dag one, I will definitely buy it. But overall, I think, like I said, I think the Brave series, these Brave toys, this Brave Transformer style things I think need to be in Takara's hands rather than Bandai's. In my personal opinion, I'm not saying that Bandai doesn't make good toys, but I think if you compare some like the SMP Jay Decker line with Jay Decker, Duke Fire, and the Build Team, I really think Takara could make better toys. But of course, Bandai's making model kits as well, so they have to work around that. But that's a story for another day, when or if Takara ever gets around to making a T-Spark version of Jay Decker, or just whenever I feel like talking about it again, because more than likely I'll end up talking about this. But really, a phenomenal toy. Like I said, I think Takara is the king of it. Takara is the best. I think the Brave series, it would be in better hands with Takara, making them, especially from what Takara and Hasbro have learned throughout the years of making the Transformers, what they are being phenomenal, awesome toys now. You know, they never weren't phenomenal, awesome, but they're orders of magnitude, like not better, but comparing them like Combiner Wars and Titans Return, you know, simple, different ideas, but ultimately when you compare the two, really the modern toys are very phenomenal and ultimately somewhat better. And this toy definitely exudes that Takara and Hasbro, I don't think Hasbro worked on any of the T-Spark stuff, but two heads to the same, like, Hydra coin, whatever. They're the same people, ultimately. At least the way I see it, that they know how to design robots, they know how to design transforming toys, and this toy shows it, obviously, because Bandai hasn't been able to do it, in my personal opinion, especially for such a simple transformation design like Exkaiser himself. But that's open to discussion, and if you want to discuss that, go right ahead. If you want to talk about what the Brave series should be, who should make new Brave toys, if it should be Takara or if it should be Bandai, I lean on the Takara side, but that is to each their own. But yeah, I apologize, as I said, for the fact that the camera angles are probably bad. You probably missed some transformation steps because the camera angles and stuff, and it's echoey, the lighting isn't perfect. This was probably out of focus like a million times. I apologize. I don't have any of the equipment that I'm at. Obviously, I'm freaking like 1,000 miles away from home. Not 1,000, or maybe 1,000. I don't know how far I truly am away. But nevertheless, I apologize for all of that. But yeah, these swivel. I didn't notice that. The skirts swivel. They don't just hinge, they swivel. I think that's awesome. I didn't know that. So yeah, thank you very much for all the support you've been giving to the videos and shorts that I've scheduled or have had scheduled. Had a lot, you know, I missed a couple throughout the weeks because I procrastinated too long, and I had like 2 days before I left for basic training to make all of the videos and shorts, so I was completely burnt out, and I think there's a couple of weeks that are missing, and this video is just going to go up randomly whenever. So yeah, thank you very much for all the support. Thank you for just being awesome, because it's just awesome to review toys like this, especially good toys like this. It's just fun. It's awesome, and then to see you guys loving them, liking the videos, you know, it's just really fun. It's really awesome. So I thank you guys very, very much. And so yeah, that's really all I have to say. So till next time, see ya.